Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video I'm showing you my newest custom, which is a remake of one of my older customs, but one of my favorite characters and favorite customs that I've ever made, and that is the Age of Apocalypse Armored ICEMAN figure. This is based on one of my favorite childhood toys. It was one of the Toy Biz ones, and they released an Iceman figure that was just kind of like a standard Iceman, and then a little bit later on they released one called the Crystalline Armor, and it was a dark blue Iceman with spikes and that kind of mouthpiece and that kind of thing. And it was based on the AOA look, even though it was dark blue. So I made one of these originally based on that for a customer who also liked the same design. Similar color scheme to this, which is the more traditional look rather than the dark blue is the light blue. And then this customer said he wanted me to remake the same thing again, but with a few changes. So we do have some changes in here. And not only in the style, but in how I built this thing, there are a few changes which we're going to talk about. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. So the first thing to mention obviously is the base body, which is just your standard Marvel Legends Bucky Cap mold. I think for the first one I actually used Bucky Cap. I don't remember. It was one of the Bucky Cap molds. This time, coincidentally, I was able to use Blizzard because he's Iceman. And no, that's not why. I just happened to use Blizzard because Blizzard has a good color scheme for underneath, and he had the right body parts. He didn't have any boots I had to trim down, so that helps. And he came with the fist hands that we needed, so that worked out. And he had a head that worked out also. I mean, obviously I resculpted almost all of the head except for like right there, where you can see the little bits on there that look like frozen parts rather than mask now. So other than that, it was a full resculpt of Blizzard. I guess you can kind of see, you can see his elbows. Those were not resculpted. His butt cheeks were not resculpted. And his fingers were not resculpted. Now you're probably wondering, hey, those are not Blizzard's hands. What are those? Well, this figure, the one that this is based on originally, and of course AOA Iceman himself, he has these big claw hands sometimes. So this customer wanted me to use the anti-venom hands, which worked out perfectly. I did have to do some modifications to the joints and to the pegs in order for them to be swappable, but we do have the anti-venom hands, and I sculpted on the armor plating for the metacarpal bones. And then we, of course, do still have the Blizzard hands. So we have a fist hand and a giant claw hand for either side. And the cool thing about this one, actually it's this hand, the cool thing about this one is I actually snuck a magnet inside the plating for this hand. You can't tell it's there, but it's in there, and this is just a little bonus I wanted to do. It's not anything super special, but my customer doesn't know about it, so hopefully he's seeing this right now and being happy. I just made like a little ice spike dagger thing, since Iceman can do that kind of thing, and that just is magnetically on there so that he can just have the fist hand if he wants, or he can give him a little bit more style without going full on claw hand. So these are just straight pegged with a little bit of a nubbin on them, so they swap out very easily. No problems at all with that. And now he's got the spiky hand if he wants it, or just a standard fist hand. Whatever works for him works for me. So now he's got that little option. It's just a bonus. So how I did this was basically just sculpted everything from scratch. I just put down clay and shaped it, put down clay and shaped it, put down clay and shaped it. And then because we needed a very kind of like hard edge look, it's very hard to sculpt that from scratch. So you put the clay on and get it pretty much how you want it, let it cure, and then you do a whole lot of sanding and dremeling. And that gives you the basic shape. And then I go in with a file and with knives and things, and I add all of these little cracks and icy bits to just make him look a little bit more like a battle-damaged Iceman. So he's got cracks and things in there, and he just looks like cracked ice. And that's the idea. I mean, it seems like a basic thing, but it's a whole lot of sanding and dremeling and filing. And I like it personally. I really enjoy making these guys, so I was really happy when my customer contacted me, but I imagine some people would absolutely hate that. It's a very, very tedious process, but it's a lot of fun for me, so I did that. And then, so I did that for the whole body, basically. Every part, including the legs, is just a whole lot of sculpting and filing and everything. And all of his articulation is retained, except for the shin swivel, because I don't like those anyway, and it would have just really ruined the look of the legs, so we didn't keep that. But everything else is still there, and I had to resculpt the head, of course, so I gave him his kind of I don't know, it looks kind of like a balaclava look, but it's obviously just ice, so I did that. I sculpted in the eyebrows and eyes, and I put all the little cracks and things in there to give him a little bit of character. And then he got the icy hair sculpt also, which was just a whole bunch of individual pieces of sculpt. And then it's a whole lot of shading. Sorry for my sniffling, by the way. I have really bad allergies right now. So there's a whole lot of shading. And the interesting thing about this is it's very hard to achieve something that looks like ice. I mean, ice is either clear or clear with lots of bubbles in it, making it look white. There's no actual blue coloration to ice, but he's always drawn with either light blue or even sometimes dark blue. So we have to do that, and we have to come up with something that looks like that. So aside from the sculpt, what I did was I covered him with a standard darker blue. It's actually almost this color with a little bit less red in it, so it's a little bit more of a pure blue, but a very dark blue base coat. No black on this guy at all. And then I went over that with a lighter blue. And that lighter blue is a custom blend that I made, which has a little bit of pearl in it. So even though most of it was going to get dry brushed over, I wanted it to have some kind of luminosity to it, some kind of reflective properties. So it has a little bit of a pearl in it, so a tiny bit of metal flake and a little bit of gloss. And so that undercoat has that. And it probably won't show on camera, but it kind of peeks through and gives him kind of a sheen. I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell or not, but it's there. You're gonna have to take my word for it. And then on top of that, there's a lighter blue, which has even more of that quality. And then on top of that, obviously, is the white, which is the frost layer. So that's supposed to be frost that's on top of, it's accumulated on top of the ice. And that is a very flat white with a little bit of pearlescent silver, which is mostly just metal flake. I kind of kept out the pigment as much as I could, and it's mostly just the metal flake mixed with the white. And it's not a whole lot of metal flake because you don't want him to look metallic, but you want him to look glistening. He needs to glisten, and so that's what I did with that. There's a kind of a stylized dry brush on top of him for that. Now the first one of these I made, I didn't have all of these different steps. I just had some shading and a little bit of metal flake in there. But this one, for the dry brush, I did it in a different way, and I made a different brush. I cut up some brushes and shaped them to actually give me the ability to make it look like frost was accumulating on the various pieces. And I'm super happy with how it turned out, and he is too. Hopefully you guys think it looks as good as I do. I'm very connected to this character design in the first place, and it was a lot of fun coming up with ways to recreate it. So I just had a whole lot of fun with it. And hopefully you guys think it looks cool, and I know he does. He's super excited to get it in hand. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I'm going to get this guy mailed off and start on the next figure. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I do appreciate it. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Click that little bell notification so you can make sure you don't miss any videos. And in the meantime, keep collecting.